how do you respond to people who overvalue science as a source of guidance? They think science is the be all and end all.
The best antidote to this kind of understanding is to read the history of science and to recognize how many changes science has gone through. And these are referred to in the history of science as scientific revolutions or paradigm shifts. And the one book that I highly, highly recommend to every Muslim, actually, the book that, like a book written by a non-Muslim, is Thomas Kuhn's The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. This is such an important work. Why? Because it shows how science is not this march of progress, that it just continues to advance step by step by step and learns more and more and more and more, like this kind of constant progress. This is a myth that does not actually is not justified by the actual history of science. The actual history of science is revolutions. You have one paradigm, one idea of the way of the world, the way that the world works. Like, for example, Newtonian dynamics or Newtonian mechanics. You know, Isaac Newton and his laws of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, for example. These are the laws of motion or the laws of gravity. This is its own paradigm. And then that paradigm is destroyed because that paradigm can't solve certain problems. It's found to be inadequate in certain ways. And then there's a new theory. There's a new theory of dynamics, a new theory of motion. There is special relativity from Albert Einstein. There's general relativity, which is a theory of gravity, also from Albert Einstein. And the new theory, it creates a scientific revolution that completely displaces the old theory. And now physicists, they know, even if they might use Newtonian mechanics because it's easier, mathematically, they don't believe that the universe is actually Newtonian. They believe that the universe is Einsteinian, according to Einstein's model of motion and space and time. And then they'll say, oh, there's a new theory. There's a new revolution that's coming. It's the revolution of quantum mechanics and a quantum theory of the universe. And actually, the space and time are determined by the quantum field theory, blah, 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 blah. So it's just revolution after revolution after revolution. Each new revolution completely displaces the old theory, and there's a new model of reality. There's a new model for understanding the empirical world. So this, if you recognize this, then it shows that, okay, well then, why are these mistakes being made? If one theory is displacing the previous theory, that means the old theory is false. The old theory is wrong, but people, the scientific consensus was that the previous theory is the truth, is the haqq with a capital T, right? With a capital Ha. That's what they believe. But they turned out to be wrong, dead wrong. And the theory was replaced with a scientific revolution. And so this, when you realize that, okay, well then what's to say that the scientists today and the scientific consensus today, maybe tomorrow it's going to be replaced. Maybe tomorrow there's going to be a scientific revolution that will say that, oh, all of this stuff, oh, you were talking about the proton and the neutron and the electron. You were talking about nuclear fission and nuclear fusion and whatever. Oh, those are stories of old. Those are past myths that we now know are completely debunked, and there's a completely new model. Who's to say that that is not going to be the case in the future? There is nothing to guarantee that that won't be the case in 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. So having this understanding of history and the development of science in the West since Isaac Newton's time, 300 years ago, this is the best antidote to displacing science from this pedestal that it has been placed on by Western society as the end-all, be-all of rationality and truth and understanding the world. Muslims, we can very easily, we just throw it off of that pedestal, and we recognize the reality because we educate ourselves about the history of these subjects. So read Thomas Kuhn, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions is a very good book, very interesting. You'll benefit from it, inshallah. And that's what I recommend.